going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Weigh-In Podcast. You know this, you know the real, you know the score. I'm joined with my guy, Sugar Ray. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm just seeing all the fights starting to line up, so looking forward to it, man.
I was gonna say, line him up, knock him down, and
Exactly, man.
shout out to Deontay Wilder because he had that on his thing. Line him up, we knock him down. Line him up,
Well, man down, man down.
But yeah, talking about fights, I think this is probably one of the more marquee fights that we are going to preview, and that is Errol Spence versus Ugas. And we got here in probably the way that Spence would not want to be here, because if a lot of people don't know, the story behind this was where we have Ugas, we were meant to have Manny Pacquiao, but Spence got injured, Pacquiao fought Ugas, and obviously lost, and now we're at this particular position. For Errol Spence, now going into this particular fight, how sad and gutted must he be knowing that the marquee fight that he really wanted, he's never going to really get?
Yeah. I think he was getting pushed. I think he knew himself this was going to be the big commercial push that he needed just to get his name out there. That was the victory that he was himself was saying that would have helped him cross over to a more mainstream audience. So obviously, don't get me wrong, he's still got a big following as it is, but Pacquiao is like world renowned. So it would have been the biggest like crossover fight for Errol Spence. And unfortunately for him, if you've seen like the countdown shows on Showtime on the All Access, it's just horrible incident after horrible incident. Obviously, he had a car crash, came back from that, beat Danny Garcia. He just said, I want no warm-up fights. Wants to go straight into it. Pacquiao fight was announced. He got a horrible eye injury in training, and the doctors basically had to pull him out because they were just like, you're going to lose your eye if you fight. Ugas steps in. He gets the Pacquiao victory. So now the road to Undisputed goes through Ugas to unify 3 of the 4 belts.
And let's talk about the fight then. In terms of Ugas's like strengths, where does that lie? And then what should someone like Errol Spence be worried about going into this particular fight?
I think Ugas is a tricky southpaw. He has that Cuban style, which is very slick. Not always the most entertaining to casuals, but very effective. And I feel like he showed that in the Pacquiao fights. Like he's very good at nullifying the opponent's punches, getting his off, and it might not be the most powerful, but it scores. And then his movement's very good as well, very tricky, very mercurial. So, like, this fight is going to be very tricky for Spence, but he's called Big Fish for a reason. Man down promotions, even though he himself has admitted he ain't knocked out no one, but Spence is like he's another guy that's got bludgeoning power, just moves forward, constant pressure, does a lot of nice combos, doesn't do too many punches, but he's effective with the ones that he lands. It's like 1-2, move, 1-2, move, 1-2, 1-2-3, move. And I feel like he's just got immense pressure and he's very talented. And I think now, just the wake-up call that life is giving him, he's taking his boxing very more seriously. I've seen that even in the countdown shows. He's saying he's working with a nutritionist now, which he never used to do. He's changed up his lifestyle. And Spence was scary before, but a more focused, lasered-in Spence is even scarier. And just the way he's speaking on how he wants to unify the division, this is a man on a mission. So, man, Spence is looking prime, but I'm not going to look past Ugas because that's how you slip on a banana peel. And next thing you know, they're going to be undisputed between Ugas and Terence Crawford. So I'm sure Spence is making sure he's fully focused on Ugas at the moment.
I was going to say one thing that we didn't mention that you touched on was the eye. Now, we've seen previous fighters at 147, 154, etc.
Yeah.
The eye has become a problem throughout a fight.
Yeah.
They're worried that although we're looking at someone who's healed with an injury, that particular eye injury leading itself, obviously we're in boxing punches and stuff.
Yeah.
Can that possibly come up in this fight where he may not necessarily be able to continue, not on his own will, but just based off a particular injury?
Going off of what he said, he had the same fear, but he went into his training camp. He's been punched in both eyes, and it kind of helped him get over it. But obviously, that's sparring, and then there's the fight. So, but he seems like a mentally strong guy that always seems to pull himself through. So I got a feeling that it should hopefully be fine. He should hopefully mentally be ready, and hopefully it doesn't make him too tentative. I'm sure he's going to be careful because anyone that gets something like that, you're going to be tentative. So let's hope that it doesn't hold him back too much. It might even just make him more, smarter fire. That guy that's going to go in there, look to put in more damage and not take as much. So it'll be interesting to see how refined he looks now, especially hearing that in his last fight with Danny Garcia after coming off the car crash, he wasn't even himself. He self-admitted. So it'll be interesting to see how, if that wasn't you at a good percentage of yourself, if that was you, obviously if anyone's seen the clip of Errol Spence in that car crash, the fact that he survived is a miracle.
That's the thing. I don't know how he genuinely survived it, but then
Crazy.
I remember seeing him on one of the PBC calls where he's talking. I'm just thinking to him, there was that thing about his speech seems to still.
Oh yes, slurred. Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, cool. You might not get back into boxing. Maybe this is particularly the route that you're at. But he's here. And like I said, there's a unified title fight coming up. So I think that's props to him to be able to be in that position again.
For sure. I think, it just shows like mentally how strong he is, because to get through that, and like I said, the fact that he said he wants no warm-up fights, he still went to face an elite fighter like Danny Garcia. And it's just shows you what type of character he has. So going into this fight, I think he also knows he might be, I wouldn't say borrowed time, but there's an urgency in him that he also understands that you potentially cheated death. So, and I think he's also spoken about how I think his body, I think people don't take into consideration, a lot of boxers, the amount of wear and tear that goes on their body just doing it for years. So I think he also understands like the time is now for him to go up and start doing more. I believe he's 32 now. So I think for him it's like now or never. It's time to be great, and he's looking to put a stamp on that and get that done ASAP. So kudos to him for that.
I think one of the things where you talk about time and stuff, like we previously spoke on other episodes like Golovkin being 40 and stuff. I think with Spence, I think for me, less on the time on age, but more on making particular fights, because put like certain chapters to bed and put to rest. Crawford's one of them. Obviously here right now we got the Ugas fight. I want to speak on Ugas right now. He's coming to where he fought Manny Pacquiao, and I think in that fight he wasn't the favorite. In this fight he's not going to be the favorite. But is there a level of pressure that actually goes into this fight for him? Yes, he's not the favorite. He's not expected to win. But you're coming in with the belt. You're coming in with something to lose now. So what pressure does that put on him to actually go ahead and perform here as maybe not the favorite, but someone with a name to even casuals because of what he did to Manny Pacquiao?
I think the pressure is more going to be on him to impress. I think obviously the Pacquiao fight was big for him, but it didn't really get him the plaudits that I'm sure he would have liked. Because like I said, the style that he has is not the most exciting. It's effective. At the end of the day, the prize fighters go in there and win. It's effective, hit and don't get hit. But it wasn't the most exciting. So I think this is the fight where he might have pressure on himself to just go in there and think to himself, do you know what? I want to make a statement. And if he wants to go in there and make a statement, that's going to be pressure in itself. But it's a fine line between going in there and making a statement and going in there and being reckless for the sake of entertainment and losing. So I think that's going to be the pressure on him. But I think, like I said, it's going to be less pressure because more pressure is going to be in Errol Spence. You're meant to be the guy. You're meant to be big fish, as he likes to call himself. So the pressure's on Spence to go in there and do what he needs to do. So we'll see how that goes down.
I guess finally, before we talk on the aftermath of the fight for each other, how do you actually see this fight being played out?
I'll be honest with you, from the limited amount of stuff I've seen on Ugas, he's very impressive, but just the juggernaut that Errol Spence is, I have to go with him. Just seeing more footage on him and just knowing the type of fighter and mentally where he's at right now, and maybe I'm believing the hype that he's put out there, but listen, man, that's the real deal.
I think
I love his catchphrases, like the whole man down, big fish. Like he believes he's that guy. He fights like he's that guy. So he might just be that guy.
I think for me, whereas sometimes we talk about boxers where they need to knock somebody out to make a statement, I don't think Spence needs to do that. I just think Spence needs to win, but look impressive over 12 rounds because of, like how we mentioned, what Spence has gone through.
Yeah.
And I think now, if certain people understand, when you get to a certain level, the elite competition, it's very hard to actually knock them out.
Yeah.
Like, let's assert your dominance. And I think we're going to get a decision victory on Spence personally.
Yeah.
But then this leads me on to the next point before we do wrap up this little prediction and preview. Whoever wins here, surely the call-out's got to be Crawford and there's no other option.
Absolutely. I think from what I understand, Crawford is now in talks with PBC. So obviously he was a free agent leaving Top Rank, thank goodness. But I think now it's just a case of get Terence Crawford on the books. Get Terence Crawford. They might get him to fight like a Keith Thurman, or Danny Garcia is another one that said he wants to step up and face Terence Crawford, which would be a good fight. So hopefully late this year, early next year, we'll finally get this fight because these boys ain't getting any younger. They're still looking just as impressive, but this is a fight that we need to get finally after all these years. We need to get done. And obviously, you got other welterweights in the wings because I think Jerome Boots Ennis might be fighting on the same card as well. And he's going to become number one contender for IBF if he wins. So that means he'll be number one contender for Errol Spence's belt. So obviously, he'll probably be waiting in the wings, just thinking to himself, listen, get this Undisputed on the way, or else I'm going to, call in my mandatory. Yeah. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that will take that step aside money for them to make this fight. But in order to do that, the fight has to happen. So hopefully Terence Crawford can agree terms with PBC and we can get this big fight happening because this should have been happened. But, once again, politics got in the way.
This is the thing. You mentioned about the big fight, but I'm guessing you're alluding to it being Spence and Crawford.
Yeah.
If Spence doesn't win and Ugas does win,
yeah,
how much of a shine does that take off the big fight? Even though we'd have Ugas versus Crawford for all the belts, but it's kind of like how we have heavyweight boxing, where the main fight we want is Joshua Fury.
Yeah,
you don't have that. Is that going to take too much of the shine, or can this still be pushed as well for Ugas?
I feel like then it becomes a thing of if Spence was to lose, it then becomes a thing of is Crawford the truth, and then maybe it's a case of Crawford then becomes the big star if he can beat them all, beat Ugas and become undisputed. Because I think the big thing is between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, it's like pound for pound, they're in similar positions, like they yo-yo between them. But I think with Errol, not Errol Spence, with Terence Crawford, I think because he's unified the division before and being undisputed at light welterweight, so it will put more shine on his greatness if he can do undisputed at welterweight as well. So it would take away a bit of the shine. It would be annoying because obviously everyone would want the Spence versus Crawford, but life happens, man. So, you just got to appreciate greatness whilst you see it. And you got to hope that these fights come through. But as we've learned from recent years, nothing is a given, especially at a high level. So Ugas is going to look to spoil the party again. And Errol Spence is going to look to make it a big thing. So I know he's like quite a big deal in Texas. So I'm sure that the fight's going to be happening in Texas if they do the undisputed.
For sure.
So, in a big stadium. Commercial wise, I don't know how well it will do, but at this point, it's just like it's going to be the highest it can be.
If it happens in Texas and they were to do stadium, if they did stadium, not the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, that's selling 90 plus K.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So if you push this, you can make that, but that's again like what we said, true testament to the fan base and stuff.
Yeah.
So let's see if they can do that. But the one thing I can guarantee, we're gonna come back here. We're gonna talk about how tired we are because it's gonna be on like 5 in the morning. as always. Now, like, come on, show us something. Show us a bit, but you just know how PBC will be.
Draw out the show. But listen, that's why you gotta appreciate that Triple G fight being at 1 p.m. in Japan. So, a lot of top fighters, please go fight in Japan.
We need Japan. But I was just gonna say, just before we wrap up, like, you just know how PBC will long it out. If the co-main event has ended, there's still about 45 minutes towards ring walk. Instead of pushing it forward, we're gonna get clips. We're gonna get people.
Man,
and we'll have Sean Porter there speaking about how he's fought again. And it's like, come on, how much more do we need?
I get it, because to be fair, that was, I call it the Mayweather model. That's what they used to do to build up to Spence. But I'm like, please, let's be done with that phase of longing out boxing fights. Just have it, because even you gotta remember, it's late for us. I'm thinking the boxers must be annoyed because they're fighting at like 1 a.m. in the morning sometimes, like 1 a.m. in the morning. And I'm sure that must be annoying, but I guess for Mayweather, that's probably one of Mayweather's tricks as well, because with Mayweather, it was a case of he used to train at that time anyway. So maybe he just wanted to always drag opponents out to those late night fights because it suits him body clock wise. Because at least what I'm thankful for in the UK, even for some of the biggest fights,
it's 10 o'clock, 10:30.
Yeah, like they don't take the absolute piss. It might also be because of curfews or venues, but they don't take the absolute pisses. Like, I don't recall. There might be. Let us know in the comments if there is. I don't recall a time when a fight went on until like 12 a.m.
No.
Like maybe late 11 p.m., 11:30ish, but never 12 a.m. Whereas America, that happens quite a bit when they try to draw out their big fights. But we'll see, man. Listen, I'm just hoping for an excellent fight. I'm hoping for the best man to win. I'm hoping for them both to be in the best condition possible to fight each other. And hopefully this leads to welterweight unification and an undisputed champion to know who the best is.
And with that, we are going to wrap up the content. If you are enjoying the Weigh In podcast, you know what to do. Hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Hit us up on all our social media platforms. The Instagram and the Twitter handle is _the Weigh In _. With that, we are going to wrap it up. Ray, as always, appreciate you for coming on, doing a quick
peace and love, people.
Peace and love to everybody who's watching. And again, let us know your predictions. Let us know what the future of the welterweight division is. Where are we going with this? Are we going to get our dream fight? Or is there going to be some kind of something else blocking our way? But again, we're going to wrap up this podcast. As always, Ray, thank you for coming on. And as always, love and peace.
Nice one. Peace.